some of you are parents, you know that there is a kind of surety that you give your kids or babies when they are growing up. And sometimes, even when it doesn't make sense, but you want to build this kind of confidence in these young kids. And that's why the child may fall down, and the parent tells the child, let us slap the ground. That does not make you fall down. In other words, you just want to build this kind of strong confidence, assuring this child that where my mother is, where my father is, there is a kind of protection. There is no fear in that presence of my parent. Today, Jesus promises the disciples in the gospel in a kind of farewell. And he tells them, do not be troubled. But before that, he gives them a gift of peace. And let us imagine what was going through the disciples' minds at this time. There must be anxious about what will happen after Jesus is gone. There is a lot of fear must be creeping in their hearts and asking themselves, do we still have authority to stand before the people when Jesus is not with us? But Jesus gives them this gift and also a promise. And the gift is peace. And the promise is, I will be with you. And that is why he tells them, though the prince of the world is coming, he has no power over me. In other words, when you remember the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 28, he says, I'll be with you till the end of the world. Though I'm giving you peace, but you are not going to be alone. You'll be with me. And probably due to troubled doubt at that moment, it must have been hard for the disciples to understand what kind of peace Jesus was giving. And this is the difficulty that we all go through when we talk about peace. And he mentions to them, the peace I give you, not like the world gives. And the question is, what kind of peace does the world give? And in the world, understanding of peace is kind of absence of any kind of trouble. That's what the world thinks peace is. Jesus' peace is beyond any imaginable trouble. This is the reason it eliminates the trouble, even the one of the hell, the one caused by death. The world's peace is human approach of doing anything or everything with our own autonomy. The kind of avoiding that anything that makes us feel unpleasant. This is kind of anxious peace. Kind of peace that I think I must remain extremely alert. A life of living like a fighter, alert, to protect my priorities, to discard that anything that makes me unpleasant. And for sure, the word peace is not kind of peace because it's kind of utopia peace. That is actually fearful and anxious. Because we have this feeling of wanting to control and should to kind of certain dynamics. Christ's peace is eternal, and nothing can separate us from it. Not even danger, not even suffering, not even death, not even anything. And this is the reason we may ask ourselves, when the martyrs are dying, do they still have peace? And we know they have peace. This is why someone of us are always suffering in prayer for special reconciliation to God. Is this person having peace? Yes. This is the reason, even as everything lacks meaning, the family will kneel down to pray together, trusting that they are not alone. This is the peace that even when I remain alone as a believer in a family, I still not give up my faith. I trust, I pray to that God. St. Augustine, writing about peace, describes in 3 ways. And one, he says, is serenity of mind. And this one is allowing God to take control of our thoughts, fears, and distress. Let God take control of our thoughts, fears, and any kind of distress. That's serenity of the mind. The second one is simplicity of the heart. And this is becoming contented with what we have received from God, but also seeing it as God's gift. Because what we have received comes from God. When we see it as God's gift, we get this kind of peace of content, and God increases that. And the third one is tranquility of the soul. Being fully reconciled with God. This is when the sacrament of penance becomes important, because we need this kind of peace by reconciliation with God. And reconciliation with God comes also when I reconcile with one another, the commandment of loving one another. I reconcile with one another, then I reconcile with God. This is kind of peace that we look from God. God wants to take control of our situations, not we as we want to take the control of them. Peace of Christ is real when you render all what we have as God's given gifts, especially our families. Peace of Christ within us through the true reconciliation, first with one another and secondly with Him. It is a process, it is a prayer, it is a surrender. It's not lack of burdens or troubles, but it's a peace that Christ gives. May God grant us His peace.